Welcome everybody to another long-awaited episode of Reason Tips and Tricks. This is Uptronics here, back with you once again for another tutorial on using Reason and different ways you can use Reason. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to get into the area of sound design, and what's gotten me going on that lately is that there's a new movie coming out called Revenge of the Fallen, and it's Transformers 2, the sequel from the first Transformers a couple years ago, and I am a complete Transformer nut, so I'm really excited about that movie, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've been thinking about the old cartoons I used to watch, and I've always really liked that classic transforming sound that you hear in the cartoons and that they actually used in the recent movie that just came out a couple times. They actually threw that classic transforming noise in there, and I've always been curious of how they created it and how can you create it. And I've done a little research on the internet, and so far I haven't been able to find anybody who's put a tutorial up or really talked about recreating that sound. But I figured I'd take a crack at it using Reason and the Subtractor synthesizer, which is a very versatile synthesizer. And I went ahead and recreated that sound, and I'm here to show you how to do it. So let's go ahead and get started. Here down in the track window, what I've got here is I've got two tracks that we're going to be using. One I labeled, which is the Subtractor, called the Transform Synth. And the one right below it I have labeled Original. And I did load up the original transforming sound. I pulled it off the internet and loaded it into the NN19 sampler here, just so I could use it as a reference guide. And I encourage you to do that too, because once we're done with the tutorial, you'll most likely want to tweak with the parameters a little bit until you get it sounding just right, or what you think is closest to the original transforming sound. But I think we're going to do a really good recreation here, so let's go ahead and play this original transforming sound here, and we'll just listen to that a couple times as a reference here. So let's go ahead and listen to it. Yeah, that's the sound I'm talking about. We love that sound. There it is. So that's the original sound. That's just a sample from the original cartoon, and I use that as a reference guide. And we are going to recreate that sound using this Subtractor, a chorus flange effects module, and a vocoder as an equalizer, using the 16-band feature equalizer on the vocoder. So we're going to go ahead and open up a Subtractor here, and we're just going to use the initial patch, and we're going to kind of move from left to right here, and we're going to go over the different settings for the Subtractor for our initial bass end sound that we're going to create. So basically, from this whole section over here where the band and the bend and the mod wheel are, and the polyphony and the portamento and all that stuff, we're just going to go ahead and leave that alone. We're just not going to change any settings on that. Some of the more key settings that we're going to be changing are going to be in the LFOs and the filter envelopes and some of the filters. So we're going to go ahead and use both oscillators for this one. And we're going to go ahead and select the waveform here on both of them, and we're going to change that to 9. We're going to use waveform number 9, which I'm not really sure what kind of waveform that is, but that one seemed to work out best. We're going to go ahead and turn on the oscillator 2, and we're going to turn the phase up on that, and we're going to turn the phase up to about a little bit before 3 o'clock on that one. Moving over on oscillator 1, we're going to switch the mode to X, and we're going to leave the oscillator 2 at the O symbol there. We're going to go ahead and drop the octaves down to 0, so we've got 9,000 on both on both the oscillators here, and that's pretty much it for that settings. Now we're going to go ahead right now. We're going to move our frequency modulation knob up to boy, that's a mouthful. Up to about 9 o'clock, and we're just going to leave that there. Okay, moving from left to right, we're going over here to the filter 1. We're just going to be using one filter for this, and very important here, we're going to change this to a high pass filter, and we're going to go ahead and bring the the frequency down and the resonance about right about equal with each other for right now. And as far as the other filter goes, we're just going to go ahead and leave that alone. Now, let's go ahead and play our noise right here that we have so far, and it will be a noise right now. So let's just go ahead and play it. I'm just using middle C on my MIDI keyboard here. That's kind of a cool noise in itself. And if we adjust the FM, the frequency modulation up here as I'm holding it down, you can. But like I said, for this noise, we're just going to leave it at about 9 o'clock for right now, and I'm going to turn the volume up just a little bit on that over here on the level. Now, moving back over to the left-hand side, we're going to turn on noise. This is a key part, one of the key parts in we're going to create some noise, some kind of static here in the background. And we're going to crank all these up, and we're going to bring the level down on the noise at the very end just a little bit. Let's go ahead and play that noise now. Okay, so it sounds a little bit different, but without the noise, it's a little bit, it's not as fuzzy. Yeah, so, okay, so moving on, the modulation envelope feature here in the middle, we're just going to go ahead and leave that alone. We're not going to adjust any settings on that. And then we're moving over to the filter envelope here. We're going to go ahead and crank that filter envelope all the way up, and we're going to bring our attack up to about the third line there. We're going to move our decay up to about right there, and we're going to go ahead and bring the release down, and we're going to go ahead and play our sound now as we move along through the different filters and things. So now we've got kind of a different sound there. It's not, see how it's kind of dropping? Now adjusting the decay there will cause it to fall away. If you lower the decay, it'll cause it to fall away quicker. You can kind of do that there. So let's go ahead and leave it right where we had it, about right there for now. And then as far as the amp envelope here, we're going to put the decay all the way up and bring both of those down. Now, let's hear our sound real quick. I'm just testing it on the keyboard as I go along. Just holding down that note. And then we're going to move back over to the left-hand side and do the LFO1. So this is really important here because it's going to kind of adjust the rate of our transforming sound. We're going to go ahead and switch to the filter frequency, and we're going to change this waveform here to the square tooth kind of waveform here, and we're going to turn our amount all the way up. And now we're going to listen to our sound with the rate right at 12 o'clock there. And we're going to hear how that sounds. So now we've got kind of this high frequency falling away. Starting to kind of sound like that original sound. Let's go ahead and listen to that original one real quick. Not quite yet there, but we haven't added all of our filters. Now, if you adjust the rate up on this, you can get it to go a little faster. You can get it to go really fast. You can do all kinds of weird stuff with just the rate knob now that we've got all this other stuff set up. So let's go ahead and leave the rate knob just a little bit past 12 o'clock. Maybe a little bit slower. There we go. So we've done that. Now we're going to come down here to the LFO2, and we're going to switch that to the, actually we don't have any features there. We're going to go over to the velocity and turn that down on the amp knob here a little bit. So now we've got kind of that noise coming in here. That's a good noise. So I know it really doesn't sound quite like that noise yet, and that's because we haven't gone on to stage 2, which is adding some filtering.